Hello, welcome to the IANA Show and Mythologies, where we love to talk about all kinds of different cultures, lifestyles, and their mythologies, folktales, urban legends, and much more.
If you're new, welcome. And if you're coming back, welcome too. We're your hosts, Lily and
Tia. We are so excited to have you here so that we can talk about the cultures, stories, and mythologies of different countries.
For this episode, we're pumped about the new and extra exciting topic we have for you today. Are you ready? Drum roll, please.
We, IANAs, will be talking about the Japanese mythologies and urban legends. There are so many interesting parts to this culture's stories, like their gods, kami, lessons, creatures, and much more.
Also, just a disclaimer, we're sorry if we pronounce any Japanese names wrong. Unfortunately, we do not speak Japanese, but we will try our best to pronounce everything to the best of our abilities. Now, to start off strong, let's talk about the origin and influences of Japanese mythology. The Japanese mythologies are based on Shinto and Buddhist traditions.
Shinto and Buddhism are the two main religions practiced in Japan. Shinto is a religion that focuses on connection, harmony with nature, and the kami, which also translates to God. Kami can be considered as gods, spirits, deities who have strong connections to nature. Kami can also appear in various different forms, such as spirits of mountains, trees, or ancestors.
Buddhism is a religion that originated in northeastern India. It focuses on the teachings of Buddha, who achieved enlightenment. Buddhism concentrates on the goal of achieving that same enlightenment by using methods like meditation and following moral life to understand suffering. This religion follows the belief of rebirth and karma.
That's partly also why Japanese animes and other Asian shows have things like reincarnations as themes.
Okay, that was a great start if I do say so myself. Now for a bit of a mythological timeline as to how Japan was created. First, there was only chaos, primordial chaos. Woo! Soon after, the separation took place.
I love that part. Don't you, Lily?
It is pretty cool.
Okay, so the separation of the heavens and earth happened when at one point all the light particles started to rise, creating the heavens. All the other heavier particles started to settle to make the earth.
After the initial separation, some kami emerged. First, 3 shapeless kami came out. These kami created the natural laws, like gravity, but then went back into hiding. After that, 7 more generations of gods appeared and are now known as the 7 generations of the Age of Gods. The last pair of kami to emerge were Izanagi and Izanami, the 7th generation of deities that came out. They were tasked with the creation of Japan. So they stood on the floating bridge of heaven to churn the primordial ocean with their bejeweled spear. While they lifted the spear, the salty drops coming off became the very first island in the Japanese archipelago, Onogoroshima. From then on, the other islands were created.
That's so cool. I didn't know that before. But did you know that when Izanagi and Izanami created the other islands of Japan, they also created more kami, making the cool natural features you see? This happened from the union between Izanagi and Izanami. Today, it may have been unusual for us since Izanagi and Izanami were brother and sister. We know today that it is not good to produce children with someone related to you, because when 2 people who are related have children, the genes are so similar that it can cause genetic problems. But anyway, these are gods we're talking about, so I'm sure it would be fine.
Tia, that's a bit off topic.
Sorry, Lily. Go on.
Okay. Izanami and Izanagi made a lot of kami. But one day, Izanami got fatally burnt while giving birth to the fire god, Kagutsuji.
Dun, dun, dun.
Izanagi immediately broke into tears. And, gods and deities have a lot of interesting ways of creating babies. Many kami were created by the tears of Izanagi when he cried. Izanami also kept making kami until she finally died. Now, this is where the story gets a whole lot more interesting. After Izanami died, she descends to Tsukuyomi, the land of the darkness, aka the underworld. Izanagi is heartbroken, so he travels to Tsukuyomi to find his lost love. Izanami immediately greets him to tell him not to look at her. but curiosity is a force to be reckoned with. One day he looks at his beloved and sees that she is rotting, with maggots and other disgusting creatures feeding off her face.
In a total jerk move, Izanagi abandons her, runs away, and covers the entrance to Yomi with a huge boulder. From the other side, Izanami whispers, "I shall kill 1,000 people every day." So Izanagi finds a solution and says, "Well then, I will have to create 1,500 every day." So there is your creation story and how people and kami are born every day.
But wait, Tia! We still have one more part to the tale. Izanagi decides to perform a purification ritual called a harai. Because of this, more kami were born, being Amaterasu, the sun goddess, from his left eye, Tsukuyomi, the moon god, from his right eye, and Susanoo, the god of storms, from his mouth.
All right, now that you know the basics, let's talk about the famous kami, the ones that are very important in Japanese culture.
First off, we have the sun goddess, Amaterasu.
Amaterasu is known to be the most important kami because she is said to be the ancestor of the imperial family, which legitimized their rule over Japan. But also because she is the chief deity of heaven and earth. She's also the sun goddess. The sun brings light and warmth to everything, as well as a key component to life and growth. Even now, the flag of Japan is a bright red circle in the center. It too represents the sun. The Japanese flag is also called the Hinomaru, which literally means circle of the sun.
Cool! I would definitely give a Best Japanese Sun Goddess award to this kami. But for now, let's keep going and give a brief background to the other important deities in Japanese mythology.
Next off, we have Amaterasu's siblings, Susanoo and Tsukuyomi. The three of them are the central figures in Japanese mythology and are also known as the three precious children.
The first brother we will be discussing is Susanoo, god of the sea and storms. Susanoo is known for his mischievous, somewhat destructive behavior, but also as a great warrior. Now, there's a bit of a story for this younger brother of Amaterasu. His relationship with his sister is, well, kind of complicated. Susanoo goes to visit her to say farewell, but she's suspicious, so she confronts him dressed like a man. To prove his sincerity, Susanoo proposes a trial by pledge, and the disguised Amaterasu accepts. A trial by pledge, also known as an ukehi, is when two deities each give something to each other, like a sword or beads. Then they chew up the other god's offering, and when they spit it out, it somehow shows their intention. So, when the siblings spit out the items they gave each other, 8 new deities were created. Amaterasu claimed that the 5 male deities were hers because they came from the beads she gave to her brother. And Susanoo claimed he had the 3 female deities because they came from the swords he gave to Amaterasu. Susanoo declared victory anyway, and later destroyed Amaterasu's rice fields, and ended up killing one of her weaving maidens. This really angered Amaterasu, so she went to hide in a cave called the Heavenly Rock Cave. As a result, the world and the heavens were plunged into darkness. Finally, the other gods convinced Amaterasu to come out of the cave, and Susanoo was thrown out of
Takamagahara.
After his banishment, Susanoo kills the 8-headed serpent named
Yamata no Orochi.
Susanoo found out about this serpent because he met a couple, an elderly couple, who told him that 7 of their 8 daughters had been devoured by a monstrous serpent, the one that he slayed. Now his 8th would be eaten soon, but not yet. So Susanoo hid the 8th daughter by transforming her into a comb, which he placed into his hair. Then he made the serpent drunk on sake and killed it since it was not concentrated and was really drunk. Anyways, then he discovered the sword of the gathering clouds of heaven, or the grass-cutting sword, in the serpent's body. He then presented this sword to Amaterasu as a reconciliation gift.
Wow, that was a complicated sibling relationship. At least they reconciled in the end. Here is the third sibling, as we already said before, Tsukuyomi, the moon god. He is the opposite of Amaterasu. In some cases, people say Tsukuyomi is quiet and subdued. In a legend, he angered Amaterasu by killing a goddess called Ukemochi. Tsukuyomi was disgusted by the way Ukemochi prepared food when he went to a feast that was hosted by her. Ukemochi made food by turning to the ocean and spitting out fish, and then turning to the forest and spitting out game, then finally turning to a rice paddy and spitting out rice. Tsukuyomi was disgusted by all the spitting and killed her. It angered Amaterasu so much that she vowed to not look at Tsukuyomi again, and in the end moved to a different part of the sky. That is why the sun and the moon, day and night, are never together. In the Kojiki and Nihon Shoki books, Tsukuyomi isn't mentioned much and often isn't very active. There are various stories surrounding how Tsukuyomi was born. In Kojiki, he was born of Izanagi's right eye, but in Nihon Shoki, he was born of both Izanagi and Izanami. Well, anyway, Tsukuyomi is surely the most calm out of the three siblings, and people think that is to bring balance and contrast to the personalities of Amaterasu and Susanoo.
Wow, these gods do not get along with each other.
Nope. Those were the three main gods, but right now, just for fun, we have Inari, the god of foxes, fertility, rice, agriculture, and prosperity. Inari isn't one of the three precious children, but he is still very important. This kami usually represents a fox, and that's why foxes are so important in Japanese culture. Foxes are revered for their intelligence, even without being connected to Inari, but they are still usually said to be his messengers and are known as respected supernatural beings who can be mischievous and benevolent.
Foxes, along with being Inari's messengers, can also be guardians of things like shrines, warding off evil and protecting those with good interests. But as we said before, these foxes can also be mischievous tricksters. They can shapeshift into human form to prank others.
Oh my kami, I never knew that mythology could be so interesting. I'm glad that people treat books with care, because much of the information we know today about Japanese mythology was thanks to two ancient books called Kojiki and Nihon Shoki. These books were created in the years 712 and 720 AD, which is really long time ago.
Wow, that is like ancient history. I'm surprised they haven't crumbled apart yet. Actually, wait, they probably have. Anyways, good thing we have computers. All the gods are so unique and cool. I just love learning about mythology. But remember, these are only a few examples. We've just skimmed the top of the iceberg because the topic of mythology and kami is so deep.
That's it for this episode, and we hope you've enjoyed and learned a lot about Japanese mythology and stories. Remember, these are only a few examples, and if you want to hear more, just beg in the comment section for another episode and give offerings to the IANA gods.
Anyways, we IANAs hope you've enjoyed this episode and have learned a little more about the Japanese cultures, traditions, and most importantly, mythologies and stories. See you again in our next episode. Till next time, IANA's off.
Do, 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 do.